Hello, welcome to episode 1 of MX Live. In this episode we're going to talk to Steve Hill, who owns a good few businesses, and he's going to talk to you about how his day-to-day looks. What do you do on your day-to-day, Steve?
Well, hello Rich. Always start with hellos, it's always important. I had a kind of a pretty normal schooling, a kind of comprehensive school, and decided that working for other people wasn't really what I enjoyed doing. I didn't like that idea. So I think when I was about 20, which is quite a while ago now, back in the black and white days as my little boy says, I set up a little IT company, a little computer company, just buying and selling computer parts before it got kind of really popular, and that's kind of where my beginnings of business started really, and it kind of grew from there into a kind of IT consultancy firm and a business consultancy firm, and then also maybe 5-6 years ago now we created a new business called Cadence Entertainment, which predominantly is a audio, visual and lighting sort of business. We also provide DJs for hotels, corporate kind of events, lots and lots of weddings, working with all of our DJs and bands across Bristol, and that business has grown year on year quite well actually, to be fair. So I do that with another chap, Mark, who's a great guy, and he kind of runs the day-to-day parts of Cadence, and I kind of overview it with him, and we strategize and work out new plans and keep trying to grow that business really. So that's kind of what we do, Rich. Yeah,
sounds really good. I mean, because with Cadence you've got a good few people working for you as well, haven't you? So
yeah, we use well, these musos, these musicians and things, they all like to be no one likes to be employed in that world, so it's all kind of subcontractors, so freelance, if you will, subcontract. So all of our DJs are self-employed, and we've got about 15 regular guys that we work with all the time. They kind of started out just doing bits and pieces for us, but now pretty much semi-exclusive really. We give them plenty of work, so they're always quite busy. So we have about 15 DJs on the team, and 5 guys in the office permanently, so it's quite a busy business.
And you got quite a few contracts in hotels and things, haven't you? So
yeah, so we got quite fortunate with that. We managed to pick up it's really interesting that when you take an existing business model like a DJ in a disco, it's not on the face of it it's not really that complicated a model of a service, but actually when you dig in deeper, like with any business, if you dig in and you start to see actually where the kind of areas are that you can really add some kind of unique selling points, or you can add value, or you can improve on existing sort of cliched service. So if you look at DJing, I mean, you got cliched, Disco Dave with his satin shirt, a couple of buttons undone.
The ones that annoys me is the guys who speak down the mic, you can't hear what they say.
Yeah, like, 1 2 1 2, blah, 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 all those kind of people. And this was number 1 in 1963, and it held the charts for just 7 weeks. All those kind of things are quite cliched, Agadoo and Superman and Black Lace and whatnot. But one of the things that was really kind of obvious straight away when we did a lot of market research was really customer service, and particularly for weddings, when someone's booking their wedding, it's all about the service. And you play in function bands, Rich, you run a function band, so you meet these brides and grooms, and grooms and brides now, it's the first time they've ever invited 150 of their friends and family out for dinner. I mean, it's a massive thing. Come to this place, I'll provide you the food, the entertainment, the drink, the lot. It's expensive, and if you look at it, is that, let's take our friends out for dinner. There aren't many times in life you take out 150 mates for dinner. So when you do that around a wedding, and look at the disco model, for example, customer service is key. So we've taken something which you do as well, which is we meet every single couple, which is a big ask, massively time consuming, but we do that. We've got a great space for that now. But that was one of the first things we spotted, was you need to meet these guys and get to know them and find out what makes them tick, musically where they're at, and what kind of songs resonate for them, and how they feel about music, and whether they like dancing. Some couples, they can't stand the limelight, or they don't want to be sort of the sort of, you know, the middle of the party, even though it's their wedding. So it's all about meeting couples really and getting to know them, which is a real add-on that we've done, a real bonus, you know.
It's what you guys are good at doing though, isn't it? It's like, it makes a big difference to, you know, because it's, people don't tend to trust musicians in a way, some clients and stuff, because they think, oh, we're a bit flaky, we're a bit, you know, but, you know, you guys are really sort of confident and deliver really great customer service that sort of put their mind at ease really when they book with you guys. They don't get like someone who's sort of a bit flaky, doesn't turn up to a meeting, that sort of thing. This is it.
I mean, synonymous, you get it in bands as well, you know, you book a band a year before a wedding and the band have a musical difference and separate, you know, normally it's the drummer, then just disappear off, you know, or the keyboard player's not happy where he sits in the band, and they'll break up. So the same with DJs. I've met lots of bridal couples that have booked someone for their wedding, and then a month before their wedding they've bailed on them. You know, you particularly find that when it's, you know, the cliche statement is, my mate's a DJ, or my mate's got a band, he's going to do the entertainment, and then about a month before the wedding you get that phone call which is, hey, can you come and do our wedding because my mate's no longer able to do it. So, you know, musicians, I wouldn't say that everyone's flaky particularly, but it's an industry that's looked upon as being flaky. So adding into that, not necessarily a corporate feel, but more of a structured customer service feel is really important, you know. And for us, when we talk to brides and grooms, or, you know, couples, and they talk about their music sort of style, I know that we can pick from one of our sort of 15, 16 DJs that's really gonna gel with their style. So if they're into, you know, Indian rock, you know, we've got a guy that loves that. You know, if they're into 90s dance, trance, you know, and hard dance, then Mark is your man all day long, and it'll be an amazing night, you know. And to have this roster of DJs that we can pick from means that, you know, when people go to those weddings, they leave there going, now that was a good wedding. You know, the same as with the bands, you know, when you sit down with a couple and you pick that, they go through the sort of song list and pick what they want is the kind of the songs for the gig. You can see straight away from the songs they pick for that gig what kind of gig is going to be. You know, I think meeting them is just a key, such a key point that gets overlooked, I think, these days in so many internet businesses, you know, where they just hide behind an email address and a website, and maybe a telephone call, but they don't actually talk to the couple and sit down face to face. A bit old school, I know, but you know, I think that's so important.
But that puts a lot of people's minds at rest, doesn't it? Like when they meet somebody, you get a feel of what they're like, and, you know, you get the professional, how they deal with stuff. It's a big thing,
and you know they exist.
Tell that on a website.
You know they're real. I mean, you hear horror stories these days, particularly at weddings, where there's been a supplier that's just taken your money and they had no intention of never turning up. They weren't even a real supplier, they're just a Facebook supplier, you know. And we all face that as businesses, and we market heavily on Facebook and Instagram, much as you do in the bands. And, you know, you're up against people that are marketing something that's the same, allegedly the same product or service at, you know, a ridiculously low price that isn't ever going to come through, but they'll take your money. You know, and I feel terrible for these brides that unfortunately have fallen foul of those kind of rogue traders. And it's a bit like the building industry, you know. Anybody can say, oh yeah, I'll knock you up a wall, but can you really build a wall? You know.
We're going to get soaked, mate, aren't we?
I think the rain's coming in. The convertible is a great idea, but the MX-5 might need a roof across in a bit.
So going back quite a few years, what was school life like for you, Steve? Were you a shy lad, or were you a confident lad, or what was it like?
School life was a challenge for me, to be honest.
I don't imagine you listened a lot in school.
I don't think I listened. No, I think I did, because these days I think I must listen because I know stuff that I don't know why I know it. You know, geography questions or trigonometry, or, you know, those kind of things. I seem to have a memory of them, which must be because I must have paid attention at some point, and I did okay in school. But I think for me, you know, my parents, you know, I love my parents, but they did send me to the school that wasn't on my patch. So I went to the school that was the arch rival of my patch.
Okay.
Which meant that I basically got beat up every day walking home from school if I wore the school blazer, you know. So I had issues with that because I didn't, you know, I lived in a different patch. So school was interesting. I kind of levitated towards practicality, so things like, you know, I liked craft, design, technology, I liked making things and doing things with your hands. I wasn't keen on sport in school, really, to be honest. I enjoyed computer science, that was good.
Were you one of those lads who keep forgetting your kit?
Oh, I used to write my own letters, you know, dear Mr. Smith, Stephen can't do football today, he's got an ingrown toenail. I think I had an ingrown toenail for about 4 years, to be honest. I very much avoided all those. Are we going to the pub, Rich?
I thought we'd do a little spin round.
Oh, see, this is, it pulls you into a pub and I think, oh, I'm going to a pub. So yeah, I kind of avoided in school, this the reversing noise that is now. In case everyone's wondering why the panoramic view has changed.
We are going backwards.
This is the 3-point turn happening. Where is school? Yeah, so I didn't excel massively. I was good at English, good at maths, you know, all the necessities. Oddly, we had a music class, but it was the 80s, Rich. So what we had is xylophones.
We had that in my year at school.
You did. You had the token xylophone. They had like a Bon Tempi keyboard. You know, that one Casio sort of keyboard that most people could knock out, you know, chopsticks on, or maybe, you know, Edelweiss, some of that, but little beginnings of it. But that was it. We had no drum kits, no guitars, and I was unfortunately cursed as a child being left-handed, which meant that in school, can I play guitar? We've only got right-handed guitars, sorry, can't do that. You have to learn right-handed, you know. And in fact, I grew up at a time when if you wrote left-handed, the teacher would tell you off.
I was going to say that. Did they sort of say to you in school it wasn't quite normal probably then to do people write left-handed? Was it as many people in class write left-handed?
Just me.
Just you, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, this is showing my age now. They had fountain pens. Now, I don't know if you realise, but if you're left-handed and you write with a fountain pen, what you've just written is illegible because you've just rubbed your hand over it. And yeah, it was an interesting time. So even to this day, my handwriting is terrible. There are very few people, including myself, that can actually read it. But yeah, school is one of those things. I think everyone's got great school stories, you know, and I found school a challenge, I think mainly because of kind of where I lived. But you know, I think school's always challenging. I think nowadays school's even more of a challenge because there's so much pressure on kids to, you know, from a social media perspective and an image perspective, and there's a whole lot of stuff that gets put on kids that we didn't have when we were kids. You know, we didn't have mobile phones and that kind of stuff. So, you know, in school, if you knocked off school or bunked off, as we called it, they couldn't just ring you and say, where are you? You were off grid. You were off grid until you got arrested, you know. But not that I knocked off school. I don't condone knocking off school. But you know, I may have been late a few times. But yeah, school was interesting for me.
Did you go off to college or anything? Or was that a normal thing to do?
Yeah, so I went and did something which you might not have heard. I called a YTS scheme. And this was a youth training scheme, which basically was an excuse for slave labour. Because what they do is they send you to a job, they pay you, you know, I think it was about 30 quid a week,
right,
to do a normal 9-to-5 job 4 days a week. And on the one day you get sent to college to go and do I think it was a BTEC diploma.
What work were you doing then?
I was doing IT work, so I was working at, it was actually kind of cool. It was a company that made virtual reality equipment. This is in the 90s, so 1991, I think, about that. VR equipment for the military. So it was kind of like flight simulators and stuff like that, you know. So it was quite a cool job. Yeah. And then one day a week I went off to college and did this BTEC diploma in IT, which I kind of smashed in the first 3 months. Just sort of did it quite quickly. And then just got headhunted by someone who was crazy, who offered me a job at University of Bristol. So I went there as a networking digital communications consultant. And if I'm honest with you, Rich, and honest with your viewers and listeners, I lied in the interview. When they said, do you understand X, Y and Z, I said yes, but the answer, I didn't understand it at all. And this was before the days of the internet or Google, so I couldn't just Google it. No. You know, so when they offered me the job, I was A, surprised, and B, nervous, because I didn't understand what the job was. But
Right.
I managed to blag it for a couple of years until I went off on my own. And it was a really good learning curve, you know, and actually it was a great job. And you know, looking back over my kind of employment history, it was a really good sort of time, really. But I knew it wasn't long term for me. It was just a.
So how long did you go? How long did you do that then before you sort of set your own business with the IT stuff?
I think it was about 4 years, and as long as my ex-boss isn't listening, it overlaps quite considerably, to be fair. If ever you've worked
Well, you're running it alongside it, really.
Yeah, I mean, if ever you've worked in academia, you'll know that no one really clocks in and clocks out, and it's quite laid back, really. And particularly in the 90s, there was loads of money around, so it was a bit sort of easier. So I kind of set up the business alongside of my day-to-day job, and when the income levelled off, I did the bunk, as it were, you know. So I left, much to my parents' amusement. They said it was the worst mistake I ever made, and I'll regret this. And so far, 24 years later, I've yet to regret it. But
do you feel that them saying that sort of spurred you on to really make it work?
I think it did. I think as much as I wanted my parents to say, like, yeah, brilliant idea, go for it, I think as much as I wanted that, when they were quite negative about it, it kind of gave me more of a drive to say, okay, I'll prove you wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and I think probably I've gone through most of my life trying to prove people wrong. Mainly me.
Not a bad thing, is it? No.
It's not a bad thing. You need a challenge, and when they said that would never work, you know, I thought, well, that's throwing down the gauntlet. That was a challenge.
Yeah. So your IT business runs alongside, and then how long was it after that? Do you think you set up Cadence? Was that a similar sort of time, or
yeah,
you obviously always DJ'd, I'd imagine? Yeah,
I mean, I DJ'd from quite probably, you know, the mid-20s, round about that sort of, so, you know, quite a while now. And
was that pubs and clubs?
Pubs and clubs, yeah. And the overlap was a really interesting overlap, actually. It was the IT business in the 90s. It was a big boom in IT, and you could make a lot of money, you know. And we did think it was going somewhere particularly special in the 90s, and that was before broadband, you know. And I remember seeing the very first web browser, you know. And so I'm old, you know. And in that period, there was a lot of money to be made, but that industry kind of got flooded real quick, and you know, before you knew it, everybody was an IT expert and everybody was a web designer, and you know, the industry kind of became quite saturated. But my passion for music extends all through my life, really. So I've always had you know, an interest in it. But I could never monetize it, if you will. I could never find a way to convert a love of music into making some money. And that's where DJing came along, and ironically, in the lowest part of my life, it really took off. So I went through a divorce around about the age of 29, which is a terrible time to go through a divorce. If you're going to go through a divorce, don't do it at 30, because it's like a crisis. You know, oh, I'm 30 and I'm going to get divorced, nobody loves me. It was terrible. And of course, all your friends and family go, I knew she wasn't no good for you, mine. You know, all that happens. They mean well. So yeah, I went through this kind of like like life-changing experience at 30.
Okay.
And a guy that I'd known a while, who was a DJ, sort of took me under his wing at a local pub. Luckily, within walking distance of my house, which made drinking and walking really easy.
The pub?
I could just wobble to the pub, wobble back again. The pub was the Black Castle in Bristol. If you went there, you probably know me. Remember those days? They're amazing. And he took me under his wing, and you know, I came out of my shower and said, right, okay, I'll stop drinking and maybe I'll start DJing. And I just started DJing in that pub, you know, on a Tuesday, a Friday, a Saturday, and even a karaoke on a Sunday. And it went from there, and I started doing nightclubs and then bigger clubs, and started playing clubs with sort of, you know, 1,000+ people in them, and it was amazing. And I met a whole bunch of new people, and you know, ironically, the best thing that ever happened to me was my divorce. You know, really. I mean, I hope she's not watching. If you are watching, sorry. But yeah, you know, it was a great thing, because in hindsight, it was a great thing. At the time, it was awful. Yeah. But you know,
when you look back on it now,
you look back on it, and it was a game changer. And I just thought, well, you know, I don't care what people think of me anymore, I'm going to go and do it. And I played out, and a lot of guys that I know that are DJs, they've never played out live because they're so nervous of it, and their anxiety kicks in, or you know, they're just too afraid of going for it.
I was going to ask you about stuff like that. I mean, do you get anxiety when you're doing your DJ stuff, or do you ever get that nowadays?
Yeah, I think you'd probably be a liar if you said you didn't. You know, when someone's put their entire wedding evening party on your shoulders, or a nightclub, and said, go on mate, you're playing 10 till 2, and you say, what kind of music? Oh, you know, just anything that makes them dance.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure. Just like when you walk out on the stage with a guitar in your hand and you hit that first note, you open the right one.
So do you prefer the clients that are like, we want this, and this, and this, or do you prefer more of an open?
I kind of like the open format where I can kind of go with what I see in the room. I can see the reactions of people, but I think my anxiety or how I feel about it is kind of, you know, you got the pressure of them having a great time. You make sure you get the first dance right. You don't want the kit to fail on you.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure, mate. You got the first
it's a lot
dance.
of pressure.
You got on MP3 and it doesn't work or whatever, or something. You got trouble.
Yeah, or it's the wrong version. They wanted the candlelight mix, not the dance mix, or you know. So making sure you get it right is, you know, that first 5 minutes of a wedding is really nerve-wracking. And I think from that kind of perspective, you know, having been quite a nervous person around people when I was younger, it doing the DJing kind of forced me to do that, to put myself out there, you know, and you know, take requests from people and talk to strangers and, you know, have a bit of banter with people and cope with the drunk cousin who's just fallen into your rig and you're trying to you know.
Do you feel like it's like an adrenaline thing that sort of keeps you, you know, that rush of adrenaline? It's just that makes you sort of perform to your best. Yeah, I think
adrenaline's definitely in there somewhere. You know, I mean, especially when I think you know that after the gig's finished and you've loaded the car and you've got home and you can't sleep. I think it's because that adrenaline is still running.
That's something I was going to ask you about. Like, what is your like routine when you've done a gig and you get home and you've done your, you know, you've done the gig, you've done someone's wedding, and you get home sort of maybe 1, 2 in the morning, you've unloaded the van and stuff. What do you do to unwind? What do you go straight to bed? What do you do? I think I try to. I generally, you know, on the way back from the gig, I'll put on something on the radio, which is I'll either do like a podcast, or I'll do like Radio 4 sometimes, and it'd be just, you know, Mozart or something. It'd be something, or jazz. It'd be completely different to what I've been playing, because it just takes the edge off of what you've been doing. Yeah. And then I'll normally get home and just drop into bed, laptop out, and just catch up on emails or you know, even a bit of Amazon shopping, just, you know, unwind yourself. And it probably takes me about an hour to an hour and a half. I probably, if I finish at 1, I'll probably just fall asleep about 3 or 4. Yeah, you know, and in the summer that can be deadly with birds singing and, you know, the light, you know, the sunlight comes up, you know, oh no. And back in the club days, you know, you do a club from sort of 10 at night till 4 in the morning in the summertime. Oh, it's terrible. You'd be trying to go to sleep and everyone else is waking up. That's great, man. It's really, really good. And do you have any sort of, like, you know, for the future, and you've got goals for the future? Obviously keep going, you're growing your businesses and that, they're doing well as it is, but do you have any sort of goals that you want to sort of tick off a bucket list, or something that you want to do over the next few years? Or
do you know, as far as goals are concerned, I've never been much of a goal setter. Okay. Not because I'm afraid of not achieving those goals, but I've never really sort of spent too much time thinking ahead to sort of plan goals. I think,
so you know, just let it happen sort of thing. Or?
Yeah, I think kind of, you've got aspirations more than goals. You think, I'd like it if, you know. And one of the things that's come about for me, especially with Cadence and getting involved in entertainment, sound and lighting, and musicians in general, is it's a rainbow there, Rich.
Wow.
You might see under the camera. Getting involved with musicians, one of the things that it has come to light is that there's a lot of people out there that kind of don't need help, but they can do with some mentoring or just some support. You know, a little push in the right direction can make a massive difference to somebody.
Which, if I'm honest, is what you've been doing for me for the last few years or so.
Yeah, we've done it. You know, we've done that, and
you've been helping me out quite a lot.
Yeah, and I find a real buzz from seeing other people succeed at something which they've always been able to do, but they've never sort of incentivized themselves, never had the urge to
just the confidence of someone else to go, actually, mate, that's a good idea, go for it.
Whether it's, you know, someone, you know, performing on the stage for the first time, or whether it's someone, you know, going out and DJing out live for the first time, or even picking up a microphone and just doing a piece on a microphone. I mean, you know, I walk out on a charity event with 3,000 people and I, you know,
speak to them,
just crack on. And I didn't even write it down, I improvise it, which can get me in trouble, but I improvise it.
You ever got anyone's name wrong?
Loads. Oddly, without deviating, I did as a wedding, it was brilliant. So there was a couple that were getting married, I can't remember the names, let's call them John and Sally, because I always use John and Sally. And just before the first dance, a couple came up to me and said, "Hey Steve, how are you?" And I said hi. I recognised them straight away. It was David and Emily. I did their wedding. Now the couple who were getting married that day, John and Sally, weren't called David and Emily, but because they'd said hello to me, and then I went, right, hold on a second, first dance. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome for their first dance, David and Emily. No, that's wrong. It's John and Sally. And it was.
Did you say that?
I did say it out loud on a microphone, and luckily everyone saw the humour in it because I was talking to David. But I've done that, you know, and I've done a few other things on microphones that we're probably not proud of. Mistakes, you said the wrong thing or the wrong charity name. That's happened a few times.
Well, we had it once where we used to have a sound engineer, and I won't mention any names, but he basically put the first dancer on the dance floor, ready to go. They're sort of locked arms, you know, getting ready to do the first dance, and he put the wrong one on.
Yeah.
So they're just looking at us going, "This ain't our first dance. This ain't our first dance." And it took longer than it should have done for them to realise it wasn't their first dance. Everyone starts crowding around them, and it's not our first dance.
It happens, and you know, this is the thing about you know, musicians in general and performances, is that this is a live show. You know, your wedding, from the minute you walk out of the room to go to the church or to go to the wedding registrar, that we're live. Yeah. You know, you're live.
Take, do you?
There's no second take. You know, when you say I, Steve Hill, take thee, if you get, and I got that wrong on my wedding, you know, when you get those lines wrong, it happens. When you're performing on the evening or during the day, it's live. So if you do make a mistake, you know, you've got to sort of, right, let's try and correct it and crack on. You can't sort of stop. You know, I mean,
were they alright about that? You were dropping the wrong name. Were they alright about the couple?
Yeah, they were fine about it. They laughed about it. We all laughed it off and just cracked on. You know, luckily there weren't any complications. But you know, sometimes you get complications with that. You know, and it can cause a problem. But we don't make that mistake very often. You know, but yeah. So something about aspirations and goals really are, you know, from a personal perspective, is self growth. It's just growth. You know, I like to sort of examine self and see how can I be a better person, how can I be a better person to other people, how can I help other people help themselves or inspire them or guide them. You know, I just kind of like people, and one of the consequences of that is success. You know, you can, I think, I don't know where it came from, so if I'm quoting someone posh, you know, fair play, but you know, don't chase the money, chase the experience. You know, and there's something unique about, if you do a great job, the money is kind of like a side effect of it. You know, the great business income or the success, if you will. If you measure success by wealth, then if that's your measure, mine's not particularly measured by that. But you know, it comes.
A lot of people do measure it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I measure success by how many people say recommend you on social media, or when you get married, oh yeah, use these guys, they're amazing. You know, so you know, for me, it's kind of the measure really is in that. It's in how well you can do, and the money just comes as a side issue. You know, we don't focus on the money. It's pointless, that.
Well, I think the other thing is, someone said to me a long time ago, is if you're passionate about something, just follow your passion. You know, and the money will follow eventually. You know, if you're passionate about something, don't just go chasing the money, because it doesn't work like that at all.
I mean, you're right. I think if you look at any Formula 1 racing driver, or you know, jockey or darts player or musician, you know, if you look at a really good Ed Sheeran, for example, you know, he was chasing a dream, but he wasn't chasing the money. You know, he did it his way, and it's worked for him. You know,
he like slept on like flatmates' floors, like, you know,
like busking on street corners for change. You know, and we all go through a process where, you know, you'll do something for nothing. I did so many DJ sets for, you know, literally change, you know, or just for the promotion. Which, I mean, I don't do it now, but you know,
exposure, they call it.
That's it. They call it exposure. That's it. It'll be great exposure for you.
How many people we got coming? 10.
Yeah, exactly that. 10 people come and get exposed. Brilliant. Yeah. So I think that you know, when you look at that kind of goal setting, you're better off kind of just looking at a path that kind of works with you and resonates with your family life and with your kind of, you know, work-life balance. You know, I find the work-life balance a very challenging concept.
Do you feel like as a self-employed person you work too much?
I've gone through phases of working too much, absolutely. You know, I used to work sort of 18-hour days. I probably still work long days now, but I do try and moderate it. And you know, having having worked from home for a long time, and then having an office space and working from an office space, you realise just how much you worked when you work from home. You work from home, and you can always wander back to the home office and carry on for another 3 hours, which is something that I used to do. But now, you know, I've made a point in our home now of not having an office at home. I haven't got a desk with a PC or a MacBook on it or something. I've got my MacBook, which is normally at work. So I kind of leave work at work, you know. I'm always
when
available.
you walk out the door at like 6 o'clock, 5-6 o'clock, that's work done, really.
If you text me, I'll be there for you, you know, or if you WhatsApp me if you're cool. But you know, I try not to do too much work at home. I think that balance is such an important thing, especially for self-employed people, or, you know, musicians that are, you know, freelancing, and, you know, you're always chasing, oh, I need another couple of quid to pay the rent or whatever else. Sometimes it's better just to spend that time with your girlfriend, your partner,
family,
your kids, whatever else, and just re-energize yourself. You know, I find so much energy in other people.
What,
you know?
What would you say was your escape from all of this then? So from work and stuff, what's your like escape?
My escape, well, it's S&M clubs. No, it's not, just kidding. No, my escape is fishing, believe it or not. It's fishing.
Yeah, okay.
Fishing, yeah, fishing is my great escape, my wife would say.
Okay. What does it feel about fishing? Is it just sort of the peaceful, or by yourself, or what is it?
Well, I mean, I've really been fishing since I was, you know, 9-10 years old, you know. Dad used to take me fishing, drop me off, pick me up 4 hours later, you know, and we catch a little fish. And over the years that kind of evolved, and now I fish for these bigger fish called carp. Carp fishing is quite a big sport, but for me it's because that involves staying out as well, as you get to camp out. So it's not so much about the fish anymore, it's more about the kind of solitude, a little bit about one with nature. I love photography, so I like taking pictures when I'm fishing of, you know, fauna and birds and you know, the life on the lake and sunsets.
Nice.
And there's something quite unique about the fact that
connecting with nature, then, really.
just getting, I think there's two things. There's disconnecting from, you know, the matrix, as it were, you know, unplugging from this thing we're all in now of WhatsApp and, you know, Snapchat and Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and email and text messaging and all that stuff, and just disconnecting for a while and just plugging into nature. I mean, you know, I've seen more kingfishers than most people will ever see in their lifetime, and a lot of people say I've never seen a kingfisher. You know, and I've seen some amazing sunsets and sunrises. You know, the fishing's kind of like a secondary to that experience. You know, but I do try and go as regularly as possible. You know,
what's the biggest fish you've caught, Steve?
The biggest carp I've caught is 62 pounds, Rich.
62 pounds.
Yeah, which
sounds pretty heavy.
That's a big old fish, that is.
It is a big old fish.
And the biggest catfish, which is another type of fish, was 104 pounds.
Wow.
Which is huge, like 5 foot, 6 foot long.
That's
you know, they always say it was this big, but actually it was this big.
Wow.
But again, you know, my little boy, he's got into fishing now. He's 7, so I'm really excited by that, because it, again, is a really good.
Well, something you can do together.
Thing. We can do it together. Go camping together, and again, disconnect, because kids these days are just, you know, almost inertly wired into the internet.